Navy SEAL. Alex Harper moved silently beneath a dense canopy of towering pines, the filtered sunlight casting mottled shadows across the uneven forest floor. His breath came steady and measured, a product of years spent honing discipline and focus in some of the world's most unforgiving environments. Beside him, Rex, his K9 partner, trotted with alert energy, nose twitching as he absorbed the myriad scents that told stories invisible to the human eye. The forest near the small coastal town was a rugged expanse, wild, untamed, and utterly isolated from the bustling world beyond. This was why Alex had chosen it for his routine training exercise. The solitude was a balm to his restless mind, a place to find clarity after the chaos of his recent missions. Alex adjusted the straps of his tactical vest, the weight familiar and reassuring. The recent operation overseas had left its mark, both physically and mentally. And here, in this remote wilderness, he sought peace, a chance to reconnect with the basics of survival and trust. Rex's keen instincts were as vital in training as they were in the field, and today's session was meant to test their bond and refine their teamwork. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. The underbrush rustled softly as a breeze swept through the trees, carrying the scent of salt and pine. Birds flitted high above, their calls distant and melodic. The forest was alive, vibrant with the pulse of nature. But Alex knew better than to let its beauty lull him into complacency. Out here, danger was as real as the moss beneath his boots. Rex suddenly halted, ears pricked, and his body tensed. Alex's gaze followed his partner's line of sight to a small mound of disturbed earth hidden beneath a cluster of ferns and low-hanging branches. The dirt pile looked out of place, too fresh, too deliberate. Rex crouched low, front paws scratching at the loose soil with increasing urgency, his nails scraping rhythmically against the earth. "Easy, Rex," Alex murmured, moving closer with cautious steps. The dog's behavior was unusual, intense. Normally during training, Rex's alerts were brief, designed to hone detection skills on scent markers or hidden objects. This was different, urgent, desperate even. Kneeling beside the dirt pile, Alex brushed away leaves and twigs, exposing the soft soil underneath. As his fingers probed the earth, he felt the unnatural hollowness beneath the surface. The mound was shallow, barely more than a foot deep, but it was clear something had been buried hurriedly. His heart quickened, the familiar adrenaline surge flooding his veins. "Good boy, Rex," Alex said softly, voice steady despite the sudden spike of concern. He began digging carefully, mindful not to disturb whatever lay beneath too harshly. His hands worked with practiced efficiency, clearing away dirt until a flash of fabric appeared. A dark strip, tight and coarse, pressed against something that moved faintly. Alex's breath caught. Under the loose soil lay the bound form of a woman, gagged and barely conscious, her eyes fluttering as she fought to stay awake. The gag was crude, a strip of cloth tied tightly around her mouth, muffling any sound she might make. Her clothes were torn and dirt-streaked, evidence of a violent struggle. She was alive but fragile, her chest rising and falling in the shallow gasps. Without hesitation, Alex reached into his vest for his knife, swiftly cutting the gag free while signaling to Rex to stand down but remain alert. The woman coughed weakly, blinking up at him with wide, frightened eyes. Alex could see the raw fear etched into every line of her face, the shock mingled with a silent plea for help. "Hey," Alex said gently, voice low and soothing. "You're safe now. I'm here to help." Her lips trembled, but no words came. Instead, she pressed trembling fingers to her throat, as if struggling to find her voice. Alex reached into his pack for a bottle of water, uncapping it and offering it to her. She drank eagerly, the cool liquid a balm against the dryness that coated her throat. Alex scanned the surrounding forest, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on his shoulders. This was no accident or random misfortune. Someone had buried this woman alive, hidden her in the shadows of the wilderness. The implications were chilling. He needed to secure the area, call for backup, and ensure she could receive medical attention. As he gently helped her to sit up against a sturdy tree trunk, Alex kept one eye on the tree line. The forest was vast, but he knew that whoever had done this might still be nearby, watching, waiting. Rex growled softly, a low rumble that conveyed instinctive warning. Alex's mind raced through possibilities. Was this a kidnapping? A cover-up? He had heard rumors in the town about strange disappearances, whispered stories dismissed by locals, but gnawing at his sense of duty. Now, faced with the stark reality of this woman's survival, those rumors took on a new, urgent gravity. The woman's gaze locked with his, and despite her exhaustion, a flicker of trust kindled in her eyes. Alex offered a small, reassuring smile. "We're going to get you out of here," he promised. "Stay with me." Rex nudged her gently with his nose, his warm breath a comforting presence in the cold, damp forest. Alex could feel the bond between man and dog crystallizing into something more profound. Purpose and protection entwined. He reached for his radio, fingers steady despite the adrenaline pulsing through him. "Base, this is Harper. I've located a woman buried in a shallow grave near the East Ridge. She's alive but in critical condition, requesting immediate medical and law enforcement backup. Over." Static crackled in response, followed by a terse acknowledgement. Time was of the essence. As he secured the area, Alex's gaze swept the horizon once more. The forest, serene and indifferent, held secrets dark and dangerous. But he would not let this woman's ordeal end here, buried beneath the dirt and silence. With Rex at his side, Alex prepared to navigate the shadows ahead, where the line between hunter and hunted blurred, and every step could mean the difference between life and death. The dense forest seemed to hold its breath as Alex Harper's fingers worked swiftly, clearing the last remnants of loose dirt from the shallow grave. The woman beneath the soil was fragile, her chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. Her eyes, wide and glassy, flickered with confusion and fear. The gag removed, but her voice still trapped behind trauma and shock. Alex's heart pounded, not just from the exertion of digging, but from the weight of what he had uncovered. This was no ordinary rescue. Something darker lurked beneath the surface of this quiet wilderness. "Hold still," Alex murmured, careful as he reached to untangle the rough bindings that bound her wrists. The coarse rope bit into her skin, raw and tight, evidence of a hurried but brutal captivity. He felt a surge of anger at whoever had done this, someone cruel enough to bury a woman alive in the unforgiving earth. Rex sat nearby, eyes trained on the tree line, muscles taut, ready to respond to any threat. The woman flinched as her hands were freed, but she did not resist. Alex offered a reassuring smile, his voice steady and calm despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "You're safe now. I'm going to get you out of here." She swallowed hard, blinking rapidly before managing a faint nod. Her lips trembled, but no words came. Alex noticed a faint bruising along her jaw and neck, signs of a struggle and silencing. He carefully brushed a strand of dirt-streaked hair from her face, trying to offer what comfort he could in this grim moment. His radio crackled to life, a voice breaking the heavy silence. "Harper, this is base. Backup is en route. ETA 10 minutes. Secure the area and provide first aid." "Copy that," Alex replied, glancing down at the woman. "We need to move her somewhere safer, out of sight until help arrives." Supporting her gently, Alex helped her to her feet. She swayed, weak but determined, and he tightened his grip to steady her. Rex nudged her cautiously, sensing her vulnerability but also the faint spark of resilience beneath her exhaustion. As they moved through the underbrush, Alex scanned the perimeter. The forest was quiet except for the distant call of birds and the rustling of leaves. But Alex's instincts screamed caution. Whoever had done this wouldn't have gone far. The shallow grave, the hurried bindings, the gag. They all pointed to a calculated attempt to silence her and erase any trace. Alex's mind raced through scenarios. Was this the work of a lone predator? A criminal syndicate? And most unsettling, had the kidnappers or their accomplices followed them here? Finding a small clearing shielded by thick evergreen branches, Alex lowered the woman gently to the mossy ground. He tore a clean strip from his shirt to fashion a makeshift bandage around a shallow cut on her forehead. She winced, but didn't cry out. He rummaged through his pack for a first aid kit, pulling out antiseptics and gauze, doing his best to clean and dress the wounds. "What's your name?" he asked softly, hoping to anchor her amidst the chaos. Her eyes searched his face, hesitant but desperate for trust. Finally, she whispered, "Maya." "Maya," Alex repeated. "You're safe now. Can you tell me what happened? Who did this to you?" She swallowed, her throat raw and dry. For a long moment, no words came. Then, finally, a tremulous voice broke through the silence. They took me. I don't know why. I tried to escape. But they caught me, buried me alive. I thought I was going to die." Alex's jaw tightened. The raw fear in her voice was unmistakable. "Do you know who they are? Where they took you?" Maya's eyes darted nervously toward the trees, as if expecting shadowy figures to emerge at any moment. "A group. Dangerous people. They've been taking others, women from the town, hiding them, trafficking them. I think they wanted to keep me quiet." Alex's mind sharpened. The rumors he had heard in the coastal town, missing women, whispers of a trafficking ring, were no longer just gossip. They were real, and Maya was living proof. This was bigger than a single victim. It was a network of cruelty hidden in the shadows of this remote forest. His radio buzzed again, a reminder of the urgency. "Harper, medevac is 5 minutes out. Be advised, law enforcement is assembling a perimeter, but proceed with caution." "Understood," Alex replied, eyes narrowing. "Maya, help is coming. We need to stay put and be ready to move quickly." She nodded weakly, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. Alex knelt beside her, steeling himself to protect her no matter the cost. Rex settled at his side, ears flicking forward, alert to every sound. Suddenly, a twig snapped in the distance. Alex's muscles tensed instantly, hand moving toward the sidearm strapped to his hip. He scanned the underbrush, the tension thickening the air like a storm about to break. Rex growled low, a warning that vibrated through the quiet woods. "Stay close," Alex whispered to Maya, shielding her with his body. He moved slowly, eyes sharp, ears straining for any sign of movement. The forest seemed to press in around them, shadows deepening beneath the towering pines. After a tense moment, a figure emerged from the trees. An unarmed park ranger, his face pale but resolute. "Alex, I heard the call. We're setting up a safe zone nearby. Medical team's almost here." Relief washed over Alex, but he didn't lower his guard. Anything suspicious? Unusual activity around here? The ranger shook his head. Nothing yet. But we're staying alert. This isn't the first disappearance reported. Alex helped Maya to her feet again as the medical team appeared, rushing forward with stretchers and supplies. Paramedics quickly assessed her condition, administering oxygen and stabilizing her. Maya's eyes met Alex's once more, gratitude mingling with pain. As paramedics prepared to move her toward the evacuation point, Alex knelt beside her, whispering, "You're going to be okay. We won't let them get away with this." Rex circled protectively, tail low but steady, his gaze locked on the fading forest edge. The shadows had lifted momentarily, but Alex knew this was only the beginning. The woman buried beneath that dirt pile was a survivor, and now she was the key to unraveling a dark secret hidden in the heart of the wilderness. The forest had quieted again, the distant hum of the medevac helicopter fading as it carried Maya away from the shadows that had almost claimed her life. Alex Harper remained crouched near the clearing's edge, the weight of the recent discovery settling heavily on his shoulders. He watched as the paramedics worked swiftly, their efficient movements a stark contrast to the tangled emotions stirring inside him. Maya's survival was a small victory, but it was clear to Alex that the danger was far from over. Rex sat alert beside him, ears twitching at every subtle sound, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze. The dog's unwavering vigilance was a steady reminder of the unpredictability lurking just beyond the trees. Alex ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing to piece together what little Maya had revealed before exhaustion had claimed her. The woman's silence after the initial confession gnawed at him. Her trauma was profound, but the fear that shadowed her every movement suggested she held more secrets. Fragments of a story too dangerous to voice aloud. Alex knew that breaking through her walls wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. Lives might depend on it. As the medical team finished loading Maya onto the waiting helicopter, one of the paramedics approached him, her expression grave. "She's stable for now, but she's in shock. You'll need to get her to a safe place as soon as possible." "This isn't over." Alex nodded, already formulating a plan. "I'll coordinate with local authorities and set up a secure location. We'll keep her protected." The paramedic gave a curt nod before returning to her duties. Alex's gaze drifted back to the dense woods, where the sun was beginning to dip lower, casting long shadows between the pines. The forest seemed to hold its breath once more, as if wary of the secrets it concealed. He pulled out his radio, fingers steady despite the tension tightening his chest. "Base, this is Harper. The victim has been evacuated. Requesting full intel on recent disappearances in the area and any ongoing investigations related to human trafficking. Over." Static buzzed briefly before a calm voice responded. "Copy, Harper. We're compiling data now. You'll have access shortly. Exercise caution. There are indications of organized activity in the region." Alex's jaw clenched. Organized. This was no random act of violence. It was part of a calculated, sinister network. The thought deepened the urgency, gnawing at him. He took a deep breath and then reached down to scratch behind Rex's ears. The dog looked up, eyes bright and steady, a silent partner in the battle ahead. "We've got work to do, boy," Alex murmured. Minutes passed as he scanned the perimeter, alert for any signs of movement. The forest, with all its natural beauty, now felt like a cage, an intricate web of danger and deceit. Alex's instincts, honed through years of covert operations, told him that someone or something was watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. His radio crackled again, breaking the oppressive silence. "Harper, this is Lieutenant Daniels. We've got limited intel on the missing persons cases. Patterns suggest a trafficking ring operating out of an abandoned industrial site near the coast. It's heavily guarded and possibly connected to some local officials. Be advised, you may not be able to trust everyone." Corruption. The word hung in the air like a dark cloud. Alex's eyes narrowed. If the authorities were compromised, traditional channels wouldn't suffice. He'd have to rely on his own skills and those of Rex to navigate this treacherous terrain. "Understood, Lieutenant. I'll proceed with caution. I'll need to conduct a covert reconnaissance of the area and gather whatever evidence I can. Over." "Copy that. Backup is limited, but we'll monitor your comms. Stay safe." Alex ended the transmission and rose slowly, muscles taut and ready. The forest floor crunched softly beneath his boots as he began moving toward the ridge that overlooked the coastal industrial zone. Rex padded silently at his side, nose close to the ground, sniffing for any trace of human activity. As they approached the ridge, the salty tang of the ocean mingled with the acrid scent of rust and decay. Below, an array of dilapidated warehouses and cranes stood frozen in time, their silhouettes jagged against the fading light. The place looked abandoned at first glance, but Alex's trained eye caught the telltale signs of recent movement. Fresh tire tracks, discarded cigarette butts, faint voices carried on the wind. He crouched behind a fallen log, pulling out binoculars to survey the area. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, their postures rigid and alert. Alex's heartbeat slowed as he cataloged their positions, noting patrol patterns and vantage points. This was a fortress disguised as a ghost town, a hub for the dark business Maya had narrowly escaped. Rex let out a low growl, sensing something unseen. Alex's gaze shifted to a narrow path winding through the woods, where shadows flickered unnaturally. Movement. Someone was approaching. Quiet footsteps, deliberate and cautious. Alex signaled for Rex to stay down, blending into the shadows as the figure emerged into the clearing. It was a local man, mid-30s, dressed in worn clothes and carrying a duffel bag. His eyes darted nervously, scanning the surrounding trees before settling on Alex's hiding spot. The man's gaze locked with Alex's, and for a moment, tension crackled between them. Then, unexpectedly, the man raised a hand in a silent gesture of truce and whispered, "You don't know what you're walking into. They're watching." Alex stood slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I'm here to help. I found one of their victims. She's alive, but she's scared. I need to stop this." The man hesitated, then nodded. "I'm Jonah. I've seen what they do. I've been trying to get out, but they have eyes everywhere. If you want to bring them down, you'll need allies and a plan." Alex felt a flicker of hope. This was the break he needed, a foothold inside the labyrinth of danger. "Tell me everything," he said, voice low but firm. As Jonah spoke in hushed tones, revealing fragments of the trafficking ring's operations, their routes, safe houses, and corrupt enforcers, Alex's resolve hardened. The woman buried beneath that dirt pile had been just one of many, and the fight to save the rest was about to begin. Behind them, the forest whispered its warnings. But Alex Harper was no stranger to darkness. With Rex at his side and a new ally in Jonah, he prepared to dive deeper into the shadows, where trust was scarce, and every step could be a step closer to salvation or destruction. The cool night air settled over the abandoned industrial site like a shroud. The distant crash of waves against the rocky shore, mingling with the low hum of guarded lights flickering behind rusted fences. Alex Harper crouched in the shadows of a crumbling warehouse, his senses razor-sharp, every muscle coiled for the inevitable confrontation. Beside him, Rex lay silent but alert, nostrils flaring as the scent of danger thickened in the stillness. Jonah, their newfound ally, whispered urgently, his voice barely audible over the gentle rustle of the wind through broken glass and steel beams. They run a tight operation here. Women are brought in through the docks, kept in the lower levels, and moved quickly to avoid detection. The guards change shifts every hour, but the perimeter cameras are what they rely on most. Corrupt cops keep them protected. Alex nodded, absorbing the weight of the information. The network Maya had barely escaped was a well-oiled machine, its reach and influence far more extensive than he had anticipated. But this knowledge was power, a chance to dismantle the operation from within. "We need to get inside," Alex said, voice low but firm. "Find the captives, gather evidence. If we can disrupt their logistics, we can buy time for law enforcement to move in." Jonah glanced nervously toward the fence line, then pulled a small device from his pocket, a hacked security pass. "I managed to get this from one of the guards. It grants limited access, but it might be enough to get us through the initial gates." The plan was risky, but with Maya's survival hanging in the balance and others like her still trapped, there was no room for hesitation. Alex signaled Rex to stay close as they moved toward the perimeter, shadows melting into the darkness. The fence loomed before them, topped with razor wire that glinted under the pale moonlight. Jonah swiped the pass card, and with a soft click, the gate slid open just enough to slip through. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of oil, rust, and something darker: fear. The warehouses stretched endlessly, their hollow shells echoing with the muffled sounds of machinery and distant voices. Alex's trained eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, searching for signs of the captives. As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, Jonah led the way, whispering details about guard rotations and security blind spots. Rex's keen nose detected traces of human presence beneath layers of dust and grime, guiding them closer to the heart of the operation. Suddenly, a faint cry echoed through the cold concrete halls, a desperate, muffled plea that sent a jolt through Alex's core. He exchanged a glance with Jonah before signaling to move faster. They reached a heavy steel door, barred and reinforced. Jonah produced a small toolkit, working quickly to bypass the lock while Alex kept watch. Minutes stretched like hours, every sound amplified in the oppressive silence. With a soft click, the door swung open, revealing a dimly lit room lined with makeshift cages. Inside, several women huddled together, their faces pale and eyes wide with shock and relief. Their clothes were tattered, and many bore bruises and scars, visible marks of the horrors they had endured. Maya's voice trembled as she recognized one of the captives. That's Emily. She vanished 2 months ago." Alex stepped forward, removing his vest to reveal a badge. "We're here to get you out. Stay calm and follow my lead." The women hesitated, fear battling hope, but the sight of Maya, alive and determined, sparked a fragile courage among them. Alex quickly assessed their conditions, signaling Rex to bring water and supplies from their pack. As he tended to the survivors, Alex's mind raced. The operation was more extensive than he had imagined, and time was slipping away. The traffickers would soon realize the breach and respond with force. They needed an escape plan, and fast. Jonah's voice broke through the tension. "There's a service tunnel near the loading docks. It leads to the waterfront. If we move carefully, we can get everyone out without drawing attention." Alex nodded, formulating the extraction. "We'll move in small groups. Rex will lead the way, and I'll cover the rear. Stay close, stay quiet." The group prepared to move. fear etched into every face, but tempered by a flicker of hope. As they navigated the dim corridors toward the tunnel, Alex's thoughts remained sharp. Each step was a gamble, a balance between stealth and speed. Suddenly, distant footsteps echoed. A patrol approaching. Rex growled low, alerting Alex to the immediate danger. Alex motioned for everyone to freeze, pressing them into the shadows as the guards passed by, oblivious to the rescue unfolding mere feet away. Once the danger passed, they hurried forward, the tunnel's entrance a beacon in the darkness. The salty sea breeze whispered promises of freedom beyond the concrete walls. Emerging near the docks, the group moved swiftly toward waiting transport arranged by local allies. Alex kept an eye on the perimeter, every sense heightened as they slipped away from the nightmare that had held them captive. As dawn approached, casting pale light over the horizon, the survivors were safe. For now. But Alex knew the fight was far from over. The traffickers' network remained intact, shadowed by corruption and menace. He exchanged a look with Maya, who, despite her exhaustion, met his gaze with newfound determination. This was their chance to expose the truth, to bring justice to those who had suffered in silence. With Rex at his side and allies emerging from the shadows, Alex prepared for the battle ahead, one that would test loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog in the fight against darkness. The safe house was tucked away in the outskirts of the coastal town, a weathered but sturdy cabin surrounded by towering pines that whispered secrets to the wind. Inside, Maya sat wrapped in a thick blanket, her eyes distant but alert, as Alex Harper and Rex moved quietly through the dimly lit room. The survivors from the warehouse rescue were now in protective custody, their wounds tended but their spirits still fragile. The air was thick with exhaustion and unspoken fears, but it was the first place they could call safe, a fragile reprieve from the nightmare they'd endured. Alex sat across from Maya, his gaze steady and patient. The woman who had been buried alive beneath that dirt pile was now the key to unraveling a sprawling web of cruelty. But trust was fragile, and Maya's silence was both a shield and a cry for help. Alex knew that to break through, he had to be more than a rescuer. He had to be a beacon of hope and strength. "Your strength saved lives," Alex said softly, breaking the heavy silence. "But we need your help. The people who did this, they're still out there. Others like you. We can stop them, but I need to know everything. Who they are, where they operate, how they hide." Maya's eyes flickered with pain, memories surfacing like shadows at dusk. She swallowed hard, voice barely above a whisper. "They call themselves the Syndicate. It's more than a gang, it's a network. They control parts of this town, the docks, even some of the police. They use fear and silence to keep people in line." Alex nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. Corruption ran deep, seeping into every corner they needed to clean. "Did they have a base? Somewhere you saw repeatedly? Any names you remember?" Maya hesitated, then glanced toward the window as if the darkness outside held the answers. "There's an old mill north of town. It's where they bring new victims before moving them elsewhere. I saw men in uniforms there. Cops, but not the kind who protect." The revelation tightened the knot in Alex's gut. The mill was a known but neglected site, long abandoned by the public but alive with secrets. It was a place no one wanted to talk about. But now, with Maya's testimony, it became the focal point of their mission. Alex stood, pacing the small room as plans formed in his mind. "We can't trust local law enforcement completely. We'll need to move carefully, gather evidence, build a case. I'll reach out to a few trusted contacts for support." Rex padded over, resting his head on Alex's knee, grounding him in the moment. The dog's steady presence was a reminder that even in darkness, loyalty and courage endured. Maya's gaze followed Alex's movements, a flicker of resolve igniting behind her fear. "I want to help," she said quietly. "If I can stop this from happening to others, I have to try." Alex met her eyes, respect and gratitude mingling in his expression. "You won't be alone. We'll get through this together." Over the next several hours, Alex coordinated discreet communications, reaching out to trusted federal contacts and a few loyal local officers who had quietly expressed dissent against the corruption. The small network of allies began to take shape, a coalition built on shared determination and the desire to bring the syndicate to justice. Meanwhile, Maya recounted what she could remember: faces, routines, and whispered threats. Each detail was a thread they could pull to unravel the larger tapestry of evil. She described the cold efficiency with which the syndicate operated, the way fear was weaponized and silence enforced with brutal consequences. As night deepened outside the cabin, Alex reviewed maps and surveillance photos, plotting routes and potential entry points to the mill. The building was fortified, but not impenetrable. Stealth and precision would be essential. Rex sat attentively, alert to every sound, as if sensing the gravity of the mission ahead. Alex reached down to scratch behind his ears. "You ready for this, boy? It's going to be a tough one." The dog's tail thumped softly against the floor, a silent promise of unwavering partnership. Maya, wrapped in her blanket, watched the exchange with a tentative smile. For the first time since her rescue, hope flickered in her eyes, a fragile but growing flame. Alex knew the road ahead would be perilous. The syndicate was ruthless, and their reach extended far beyond what they had uncovered so far. But with Maya's courage, Rex's instincts, and a network of allies slowly coming together, they had the beginnings of a plan to strike back. As dawn approached, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Alex prepared to infiltrate the shadows that had swallowed too many lives. The old mill awaited, a fortress of secrets and pain. But this time, they wouldn't be silent. They would fight, and they would win. The night was thick with fog as Alex Harper and Rex approached the old mill from the dense tree line. The building's skeletal frame looming against the moonlit sky like a ghost of forgotten sins. The coastal wind carried the sharp tang of salt and decay, mingled with something more sinister: the faint hum of generators and the distant murmur of voices. This was the heart of the syndicate's operation, a fortress of cruelty cloaked in rust and shadows. Alex moved with practiced stealth, every step deliberate and silent on the cracked concrete path. Rex prowled beside him, muscles coiled, nostrils flaring, as he absorbed the scents of the night. The air was heavy with anticipation, the kind that tightened the chest and sharpened the senses. Using the small tactical light clipped to his vest, Alex signaled Jonah, who had joined them at the safe house and was now crouched nearby. Jonah's face was pale but resolute, eyes flickering with a mix of fear and determination that mirrored Alex's own. They had spent days gathering intel, mapping guard patterns, and piecing together the layout of the mill. Tonight, they would infiltrate, expose the traffickers, and rescue any captives still held within. The first obstacle was the perimeter fence, high, topped with razor wire and patrolled by armed guards. Jonah produced a small device, a jammer capable of disrupting the security cameras for a limited window. The device hummed softly as Jonah activated it, and for the next few minutes, the cameras blinked offline. "Windows open," Jonah whispered, voice taut. "We've got about 5 minutes before they reboot." Alex nodded, eyes scanning the patrols. 2 guards were stationed near the main gate, their silhouettes flickering in the shadows. Timing was everything. With a quick hand signal, Alex and Jonah slipped through a side entrance Jonah had discovered, a rusted service door partially concealed by overgrown vines. Rex led the way, nose low to the ground, alert for traps or hidden alarms. Inside, the mill was a labyrinth of metal catwalks, dark corridors, and cavernous rooms echoing with the distant clatter of machinery. The air was thick with the smell of oil and damp concrete, punctuated by the faint cries that sent a chill down Alex's spine. Somewhere in this industrial maze, captives were held, women whose lives depended on Alex and his team. Moving silently, Alex consulted the mental map he had memorized, navigating toward the lower levels where the syndicate stored their prisoners. The faint glow of dimmed lights flickered ahead, casting long shadows that danced like specters on the walls. Suddenly, Rex stiffened, ears pricked and a low growl rumbling from deep in his throat. Alex froze, hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. Ahead, a pair of guards rounded the corner, their footsteps echoing ominously. Alex melted into the shadows, pulling Jonah down beside him. The guards passed within arm's reach, unaware of the silent predators hidden just beyond sight. When the footsteps faded, Alex exhaled slowly, signaling to move. They pressed on, the tension thickening with every step. Ahead, a locked door barred their path, a heavy steel gate reinforced with multiple locks. Alex knelt to inspect it, pulling out a set of lockpicks from his pack. His fingers worked with precision, the metallic clicks of tumblers sounding impossibly loud in the stillness. Behind the door, muffled voices and the faintest sobs reached his ears. The captives were close. After several agonizing moments, the lock finally gave way. Alex pushed the door open just enough to slip inside, Jonah following with Rex at his heels. The room was dimly lit by a single flickering bulb, revealing a group of women huddled together, eyes wide with a mixture of hope and terror. They were gaunt, bruised, and exhausted, but alive. Maya's face emerged from the crowd, her eyes locking with Alex's. A fragile smile broke through the fear. "You came," she whispered. Alex offered a reassuring nod. "We're getting you out. Stay calm, stay quiet." He quickly moved to remove the makeshift restraints binding the women, working methodically to free them. Rex nuzzled gently, offering warmth and comfort to the frightened survivors. "All right," Alex said quietly once the last woman was free. "We're heading out through the service tunnel Jonah mentioned. It leads to the docks. Stay close, no noise." As they prepared to leave, the sharp crack of a radio transmission pierced the silence. "Security breach. Check the lower levels. Lockdown initiated." Alex's pulse spiked. The syndicate had been alerted. "Move," he ordered, ushering the group toward the exit. Rex took point, nose to the ground, leading them through winding corridors as alarms blared and footsteps thundered behind them. They reached the service tunnel entrance just as guards appeared at the corridor's far end. Jonah blocked the way with a hastily grabbed pipe, buying precious seconds. Alex ushered the women into the tunnel, the cool night air a welcome relief as they emerged near the Tots waterfront. But the danger was not over. Spotlights swept the area, and voices called out. Alex grabbed Maya's hand, pulling her toward the shadows where a small boat waited, engine idling softly. Jonah covered their rear, exchanging fire with pursuing guards as Alex and the captives scrambled aboard. Rex barked sharply, alerting Alex to a figure lunging from the dock, a man wielding a heavy baton. Alex intercepted, blocking the strike and delivering a swift counter that sent the attacker sprawling into the dark water. The boat surged forward, cutting through the waves as gunfire echoed behind them. Alex kept his gaze fixed on the retreating shore, heart pounding but resolute. As the coastline faded into the distance, Maya turned to him, her voice steady despite exhaustion. "You saved us." Alex shook his head. "This is just the beginning. We'll bring them all down." Rex settled at Alex's feet, the bond between man and dog unshaken amid the storm. Together, they had struck a blow against darkness. But the fight for justice was far from over. The small boat cut through the cold coastal waters under a blanket of stars, its engine a low hum against the crashing waves. Inside, the rescued captives huddled together, wrapped in blankets, their faces pale but relieved. Maya sat close to Alex Harper, her eyes still shadowed by the horrors she'd endured, but flickering now with a fragile hope. Rex lay at Alex's feet, alert and watchful, ears twitching at every sound, a silent sentinel in the night. As the shoreline faded behind them, Alex's mind raced ahead. The syndicate's stronghold had been breached, but their operation was vast and deeply entrenched. The danger was far from over. He needed to regroup, strategize, and prepare for the battles still to come. "We're not safe yet," Alex murmured, breaking the heavy silence. "They'll be looking for you, for all of you. We have to stay ahead." Maya nodded, swallowing hard. "I want to help. I know things, ways to disrupt them, places they don't expect." Alex looked at her, respect mingling with determination. "Good. We're going to use every advantage we've got." The boat pulled into a secluded cove where trusted allies awaited, a small team equipped for rapid response and covert operations. As the captives were escorted to a secure location, Alex gathered with Jonah and 2 other operatives around a rugged table strewn with maps, surveillance photos, and electronic devices. "Our intel shows that the syndicate's operations extend beyond this town," Jonah began, voice low but urgent. "They have safe houses, transport routes, and corrupt officials protecting their interests. We need to cut their supply lines and expose their network." Alex studied the maps, tracing the tangled web of locations. "We'll have to move fast and quiet, hit their weak points before they can regroup." He assigned roles carefully, emphasizing stealth and coordination. Maya offered details about the traffickers' routines, insider knowledge that proved invaluable in pinpointing vulnerabilities. Rex, ever vigilant, patrolled the perimeter of their temporary base, his keen senses alert for any signs of discovery. The dog's presence was a source of comfort and strength, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, loyalty and courage endured. As night deepened, Alex and Jonah prepared to infiltrate a suspected safe house on the outskirts, a key node in the syndicate's transportation network. The plan was to gather evidence, disrupt their operations, and rescue any victims before they could be moved again. Moving under the cover of darkness, Alex led the team through thick woods toward the target. The air was tense, every shadow a potential threat. Rex's nose twitched as he detected unfamiliar scents, footsteps, engines, the faintest trace of fear. They reached the safe house, a nondescript building surrounded by a high fence and guarded by 2 armed men. Jonah produced a small device that emitted a soft pulse, temporarily disabling the security cameras. Alex signaled the team forward. Rex moved silently ahead, his trained eyes and ears scanning for traps. They slipped through a side gate Jonah had unlocked, merging into the shadows cast by the dim porch light. Inside, the house was eerily quiet, the air thick with stale smoke and tension. Alex and Jonah crept through the rooms, weapons drawn but ready to act with precision. Suddenly, a faint noise, a whispered conversation, drifted from the basement. Descending the narrow stairs, they found a hidden chamber where several women were confined, their eyes wide with terror and hope. Maya's voice echoed in Alex's mind, Every captive freed was a step closer to justice. As they began freeing the women, Rex growled low, alerting them to approaching footsteps outside. The syndicate's guards were closing in. Alex quickly formulated a defense. "Jonah, cover the rear. I'll lead the women out through the back exit. Rex, stay close and alert." The team moved swiftly, navigating a maze of hallways and hidden passages. Outside, Jonah engaged the guards in a brief but fierce firefight, buying time for the escape. Alex and the captives slipped into the night, hearts pounding as they reached a waiting vehicle driven by a trusted ally. The engine roared to life, carrying them away from the nightmare once more. Back at their base, the rescued women were tended to, their stories beginning to unfold. Each account was a testament to resilience and pain, but also to the unyielding human spirit. Alex gathered Maya and Jonah, his voice resolute. "This is a war of shadows. We'll use their fear against them, strike where they're weakest, and bring them into the light." Maya nodded, determination shining through her exhaustion. "They think we're afraid. They're wrong." Rex rested his head on Alex's knee, a silent promise that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The fight was far from over, but with trust, courage, and the bond between man and dog, they were ready to take the next step. Outside, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, a fragile promise of hope amid the darkness. The dawn's first light seeped through the cracked windows of the safe house, casting pale streaks across the worn wooden floor. Inside, urgency hummed beneath the surface, as Alex Harper and his team prepared for what would be the most critical operation yet. A full extraction of the captives and a coordinated strike to dismantle the syndicate's remaining strongholds. Maya sat nearby, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a cup of tea, the warmth doing little to ease the cold terror still etched in her eyes. Yet beneath the fear, a steel resolve had begun to take root. She exchanged a glance with Alex, who gave her a reassuring nod. They both understood the stakes. This mission could save lives, or cost them all. Alex convened the team around a makeshift table scattered with maps, encrypted comms devices, and photographs taken during their reconnaissance. "We have confirmation of multiple safe houses and transportation routes," he said, voice low but steady. "Our goal is to hit 3 key locations simultaneously, disrupt their network, free the captives, and prevent any chance of escape." Jonah, scanning the maps, pointed to a cluster of buildings near the industrial docks. "This is their main hub for moving victims. It's heavily guarded, but we've identified weak points, blind spots in their surveillance, and shift changes that create windows of vulnerability." Alex nodded, eyes narrowing. "We'll coordinate with federal backup to secure the perimeter. Rex and I will lead the infiltration team." Rex, lying at Alex's feet, lifted his head, ears twitching as if sensing the weight of the coming battle. The dog's unwavering loyalty was a source of strength, a steady anchor in the storm of uncertainty. As night fell, the team moved out under the cover of darkness, vehicles slipping silently through narrow back roads toward their targets. The air was thick with tension, every mile bringing them closer to the heart of the syndicate's operation and the danger that awaited. Approaching the first safe house, Alex signaled his team to halt. He crouched beside Rex, whispering, "Stay sharp, boy. This is it." The infiltration began with practiced precision. Rex led the way, nose to the ground, alert to the faintest scent of human presence. Using suppressed weapons and hand signals, the team slipped past guards and security systems, navigating the labyrinthine interior with stealth honed by countless missions. Inside, the captives were found huddled in cramped, dimly lit rooms, eyes wide with disbelief and hope. Alex moved quickly, cutting restraints and offering quiet words of reassurance. Maya's voice echoed softly, helping to calm the frightened women. Suddenly, a distant alarm shattered the silence. The operation had been compromised. "Move, move," Alex commanded, ushering the captives toward the pre-planned extraction points. Rex barked sharply, alerting the team to approaching reinforcements. Outside, federal agents and trusted local officers had established a perimeter, engaging the syndicate's guards in a fierce firefight. Gunfire cracked through the night, echoes bouncing off the concrete and steel. Alex covered the rear, moving with lethal efficiency as he fought to clear the path for the escape. Jonah provided support, coordinating communications and relaying real-time intel. The captives were loaded into waiting vehicles, their faces illuminated by the harsh glow of searchlights and the flash of muzzle fire. Despite the chaos, the team moved with practiced discipline, every second crucial. As the convoy sped away from the scene, Alex took a moment to scan the horizon. The battle was far from over. The syndicate's reach extended beyond what they had uncovered. But tonight, they had struck a decisive blow. Back at the safe house, medical personnel tended to the rescued women, their stories beginning to emerge, testimonies of cruelty, resilience, and hope. Maya stood nearby, her voice steady as she recounted details that would aid prosecutions and bring more perpetrators to justice. Alex watched her, pride and determination mingling in his gaze. The fight against the syndicate was a war of shadows, but each victory illuminated the path forward. Rex rested his head on Alex's knee, a silent companion in the long night ahead. Together, they had salvaged lives from darkness and forged a bond that would endure whatever battles lay ahead. Outside, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, a fragile promise of justice, resilience, and the unyielding fight for freedom. The sun hung low over the coastal town as the convoy pulled into the secure compound, a fortress of steel and stone surrounded by vigilant guards and medical teams. The survivors, once shadows of despair and fear, were now stepping into the light of recovery and hope. Alex Harper remained at the forefront, his eyes scanning the crowd with a mix of relief and determination. The fight against the syndicate had delivered a devastating blow, but the road to justice was just beginning. Paramedics moved swiftly among the rescued women, attending to bruises, cuts, and the invisible scars etched deep into their minds. Maya sat quietly with a counselor nearby, her expression a mix of exhaustion and quiet resolve. She had become a beacon for the others, a survivor transformed into a warrior. Alex approached the medical tent, where federal agents were coordinating the next steps. The atmosphere was tense, but charged with purpose. Evidence collected during the raids was being cataloged, and the groundwork for prosecutions was being laid. Lieutenant Daniels met Alex's gaze, nodding in acknowledgement. "Your team did exceptional work. These arrests will send a message. But we need the survivors' cooperation to dismantle the entire network." Alex's jaw tightened. "They're ready." Maya's agreed to assist with identification and testimony. "It won't be easy, but it's necessary." Nearby, Maya looked up as Alex approached. Her eyes held a cautious hope. "I want to see them held accountable," she said quietly, "for every woman they hurt." "That's why we're here," Alex replied, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Over the following days, the compound buzzed with activity. Investigators worked alongside survivors, piecing together the threads of the syndicate's operations. Maya's courage inspired others to share their stories, breaking the silence that had long protected the traffickers. Alex coordinated with prosecutors and law enforcement, ensuring that every piece of evidence was airtight. The corrupt officers who had shielded the syndicate faced exposure, their reign of terror unraveling under the weight of truth. Rex remained a constant presence, his keen instincts and calm demeanor offering comfort to those still haunted by their ordeal. The bond between man and dog had become emblematic of resilience and trust. Despite the progress, Alex knew the work was far from over. The syndicate's reach had been vast, and pockets of resistance remained. But with survivors stepping forward and justice gaining momentum, the tide was turning. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex stood outside the compound, watching the waves crash against the rocky shore. Maya joined him, her gaze steady. "We've come so far," she said softly. Alex nodded. "And we'll go further. Together." Rex padded to their side, resting his head on Alex's knee, a silent promise that no one would face the darkness alone. The battle against human trafficking was a long one, fraught with danger and sacrifice. But in this moment, surrounded by survivors reclaiming their lives, Alex felt the weight of hope. The journey was not finished, but the path forward was clear. Justice would prevail, and the shadows that once hid the syndicate would be brought into the light. The safe house was quiet now, bathed in the soft glow of morning light filtering through the curtains. Alex Harper sat across from Maya, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea, eyes reflecting a mixture of weariness and newfound resolve. The days since their daring rescue had been filled with difficult conversations, healing, and the slow rebuilding of trust. But today, there was a moment to breathe, a pause in the relentless fight against the darkness that had shadowed their lives. Alex glanced down at Rex, who lay curled at his feet, eyes half closed but ever watchful. The bond between man and dog had deepened through every trial, a silent language of loyalty and courage that needed no words. "I wanted to thank you," Maya said softly, breaking the silence. "For saving me. For believing me when so many others didn't." Alex shook his head, a gentle smile tugging at his lips. "You saved yourself. I just helped light the way." She smiled back, a flicker of hope shining through the fatigue. "What happens now? After they've been arrested? After the court cases?" "That's where you come in," Alex replied. "Your testimony, your strength. It's what brings them down for good. And beyond that, there's work to rebuild, to help others who've been silenced." Maya nodded, determination settling into her features. "I want to be part of that, to make sure no one else has to suffer like I did." Outside, the morning sun rose higher, casting golden light over the peaceful forest surrounding the cabin. It was a stark contrast to the shadows they'd faced, a reminder that even after the darkest nights, dawn always comes. Alex stood and stretched, the weight of recent battles lingering but tempered by purpose. "I'll be heading out soon. There are others who need help, places where Rex and I can make a difference." Maya reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "Come back safe, and know that you've made a difference here." He nodded, feeling the unspoken gratitude and the quiet promise of new beginnings. With Rex by his side, Alex stepped outside into the fresh morning air, the forest alive with the sounds of birdsong and rustling leaves. As they walked down the narrow path leading away from the cabin, Alex took a deep breath, the cool air filling his lungs. The journey ahead was uncertain, but he was ready. Ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, armed with the unbreakable bond of trust, loyalty, and hope. Behind him, Maya watched the fading figure of the man and his dog, her heart steady with the knowledge that through courage and resilience, New chapters could be written, and justice would endure.